Ladies and gentlemen, this week we've got a very special guest on the Working in Hockey podcast. Evan Sporer, currently the manager of brand strategy for Bleacher Report's Open Ice. Evan, how you doing here today, man?
I'm good. How's it going, man? Happy to be here.
We're excited to have you here and dive into lots of things, digital content, social media, and of course, hockey related here. I think just about everybody's seen BR Open Ice at this point. You guys got over 500,000 followers on TikTok, over 300,000 on Instagram, over 175,000 on X or Twitter there. But for those who may not know, tell us a little about your role. What does your role entail there, Evan?
Yes, Bleacher Report is probably not historically a destination most people would think about for hockey. Obviously, really in NBA culture and everything that comes with that. Was an NBA rights holder because the parent company, Warner Brothers, includes Turner Sports. It's very heavy. In the NBA. We're coming up on what is our fifth season of NHL on TNT, which is crazy to say. But when Turner got NHL linear rights. I believe it was going into the 2021-22 season. They launched BR Open Ice, which is basically our destination for all things hockey at Bleacher Report. And my job specifically is overseeing the team that is responsible for the social output for both BR Open Ice and NHL and TNT. A lot of that is big picture strategy. So, what are the things we care about? What are we focusing on? What's our content look like? I work really closely with our linear team in terms of helping prepare for the TNT studio show every week, talking about what we're doing on social, what they're doing on television, making sure that we're kind of, the left side of the brain talks to the right side of the brain. Um, and it's awesome, man. Like, I feel like I gave it a very vanilla description, but it's a lot of fun. Just allows you to flex a lot of creative muscles, which is something I've always really appreciated. So,
And like Nick mentioned, the growth of the brand has been incredible. So what were some of those maybe early goals or brand guidelines that you guys put in place that has shaped the growth of the brand?
yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think a few things. The first was like coming from a place myself where I've been a consumer for so long, like I grew up watching hockey. It was just, let's be different, right? There's other brands in the space that are established and have been doing this for a bit. So it was, we can't do what they're doing. Like Sportsnet has its own sort of voice style, all those things. If we try to do what Sportsnet does, they have the audience, they do it better than we're going to do it. So like, let's find our lane and our voice, which I think if you follow the page, any of the pages already, you can tell we're not super hard hitting news, buttoned up. It's more lighthearted. It's very player centric and friendly. That's one of our big missions is if you come to the page, it just kind of feel like what it's like an authentic maybe voice of the players in a sense of like, hey, here's the things that they care about and how they interact. That's really a big part of the Bleacher Report playbook. I wouldn't say specific to Open Ice, but what other brands do as well. We're just very lucky in that, obviously, being a new brand in a bigger company, there were so many other teams and groups that were already doing a lot of things that were really successful. So I think a big part of it was borrowing a little bit what they were doing, but then kind of putting our own spin on it, obviously making it super relevant to the hockey universe, but then just to finding our own sort of lane within the broader Bleacher Report spectrum. And a lot of trial and error, right? Like we did things at the beginning that we're really passionate about, thought were really going to work. They didn't for whatever reason. So you just kind of assess and move on and keep trying to figure out what your audience likes.
Yeah, and I think one thing that you guys do really well is integrating with other creators to make sure, there's different styles of content and that every fan base is covered, whether it's, Johnny doing his laps with guys or Mike Bartner's green screens on TikTok or the TBR guys doing like man on the street. You guys intertwine really well with other creators to get those different voices and outlets too. How much was that part of the strategy or kind of something that you've learned more recently here?
Yeah, I think we kind of adopted that over the years. Like, I don't think that was necessarily a strategy from the jump. I think at the beginning, it was just like there was an emphasis on growth. And obviously, there are certain topics that like we know a broader hockey audience is going to care about, but we also want to cater to basically any level or type of hockey fan. And that even that definition has changed, right? When we started, I'd say we were pretty focused on NHL, and then that's even expanded over the years. Some more women's hockey stuff. We do more college hockey stuff now, amateur. So there's just different focuses that we've taken. I think on the creator side, that's just kind of been a natural progression as we've expanded. Like you mentioned, some of those folks. Last year, we worked with MS Films, Matt Schoen, and he shoots college games for us in the Northeast. And like last year, he's at Ryan Leonard's games, Gabe Perreault, James Hagan's, like a lot of players that we really care about. This year, we have a Penn State shooter because it's like Gavin McKenna, right? So I think it's just as we've grown naturally, we found ways to layer in more and more different types of content, different mediums of content. So I think that wasn't necessarily like a hard goal or anything. I think it was just, hey, what's the next thing we can do? And then it just became expanding into just different types of creators and different ways to find our content. So
Yeah. Yeah, totally, and I think it's obviously, done pretty well and paid dividends having some of those guys, involved there as well. What does the team look like overall, Evan, from, kind of full-time, around the clock, covering games at nights for some of the creators involved? How's the team sorta shape up overall?
yeah, it's always funny to talk about because the level of output is crazy. And the full-time staff, it's myself, one manager, and then two full-time at Bleacher Report. It's called programmers. So basically, programmer role is you're very in the weeds. That's the day to day. You're doing the majority of the publishing. You're working during the live game windows when the season starts next week. Very much just like foot soldier. That's also for me, like pound for pound, one of the tougher jobs you can do because your workload is so heavy, your shifts are so hectic, and there's so many decisions you're making. So, like, all the respect in the world to folks that do that job, not just for Open Ice, but across all of Bleacher Report. And then, like I said, I have one manager who does a lot of programming as well, and then helps on some of the bigger picture stuff, and then myself. That is like the core Open Ice team. So it's 4 full time army of freelancers, right? Like you mentioned some of the folks. We have like some freelance design folks we work with that are not full time by any stretch, but like just consistent. They're probably doing stuff for us every week. Same thing on the video editing side. And then within Bleacher Report, because it is such a big company, there's a lot of shared resource groups. So like on Slack, you could get a graphic designed in anywhere from like 5 to 30 minutes, depending on like the priority of that. That's like a lot of stuff you see on our Twitter and Instagram pages is through that design room. And those are folks that are employed. They're not on our team, but it's like a shared resource that any team across BR could use.
Yeah, and I think that talks to the quality of the work that everyone's doing on the team, right? Because like you said, I think a lot of people would assume there is more people behind the scenes of such a big brand like that. Could you talk to us a little bit about working with the NHL on TNT crew and how that has played into your role?
Yeah, it's fun, man. Like, I think what you see on TV is very much behind the scenes what the vibe is like. I'm very excited that we're starting up again. Like Monday, we have our first like TNT call of the season. We always have like a Monday call to prep for Wednesdays or for the week. And it's just super collaborative. The mood is super light. Really just, I've been in different places where they say, yeah, ideas can come from anywhere. And it's kind of bullshit. Like they can, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the ideas are going to see the light of day. That is not the case here. Like I've seen anyone come on that Monday call and pitch an idea and get talent excited, and it ends up on television on Wednesday. And it's just a cool, just community like feel to it. People are respectful of sort of what everyone's role is, right? Because I think you can push too far in that direction where you're like, oh, we're a family. And then it's just like you're working 70 hours a week and it's like your family is abusing you. But this is just, it's everyone feels like they're able to contribute. Everyone feels like their contributions are valued and validated. So that's so much fun. And I think just the fact that it's something that it feels like we've really built from the ground up. Like NBA on TNT was a tremendous blueprint to start with. That was really, I think, the gold standard of any type of studio show. So again, I think similar to Open Ice, we borrowed some beats from that show, but then obviously made it our own and gave it its own identity. And yeah, like the reception has been amazing. It's so cool just to see like the reactions when we post clips or when people talk about that studio show. Like it's really just awesome to see.
Yeah, no, It's done a lot for the game. I imagine it's done a lot for you guys there as well, like you say. But prior to Bleacher Report, there, I know you were with DAZN. If my memory serves me right, that was kind of right around the come up of DAZN, and a lot of a lot of things ended up on there during those couple of years. How do you compare those roles, and what were you able to take from that role to apply to this one, Evan?
Yeah, the zone was really my first full-time job in social media. When I started out, I was a journalism major in college, excuse me. I worked for like a bunch of NHL teams for the NHL. Like I was strictly a writer, and that was what I thought I was going to do forever. And I just thought social media was not even attractive. And then I was at Sporting News, which was Perform Media, which is the same parent company at DAZN, or was the same parent company at DAZN at the time. Was doing some writing there while also kind of getting more involved on like the digital web side of things and a little bit dipping my toe into social media. And then, like you said, DAZN really was coming up strong in the US and kind of got like a tap on the shoulder that was like, hey, it would be wise of you to position yourself with this group because this is where the investment's going in the company. So moved over there to the social side. So that was really like my first, head first foray into social media. So that was a lot of just education and everything, to be quite honest. When I left there, I was managing a team that was running DAZN Boxing, so all of the boxing globally, and DAZN Canada, which I'm guessing you have some Canadian listeners. And like in Canada, DAZN is everywhere because they've got NFL, they've had different soccer rights over the years. So yeah, it was definitely a very interesting experience. Really taught me about um, not necessarily the corporate side of social media, but working with whether it's a league or a boxing promoter, basically towing the line of how can you be creative while still promoting a product and also knowing that you're a partner. There's certain lines you can't cross, even though it's social media and it's all kind of meant to be fun. So a lot of the like behind the scenes politics that most folks probably don't think about when they think of social media, but very real things that you have to learn how to navigate, or else you're going to get a lot of early morning angry emails of like, what the fuck are you doing? So,
Yeah, and to take a step even further back here, prior to that, you were with the Minnesota Wild as a digital content coordinator. What
yeah.
did that role entail, and how is it different working for one team, whereas now you're covering the whole sport?
Yeah. That was crazy, man. I got that job when I was 22 or 23. I want to say 23. Basically, I was a team's beat writer. Packed up my life, moved from New York to Minnesota, which was just crazy. And then, did like 60 road games in a year, between preseason, regular season, playoffs. Probably not 60, but probably legitimately in the 50s because they got bounced in the first round that year. That was crazy. That was just like um, a tornado of a role because it was so work intensive. Like my off days were the CBA mandated off days for the team, and I was just around the team all the time. But just yeah, I mean, you talk about knowing and understanding the ins and outs of an organization and how to be effective in communicating like up and down in terms of if you're talking to a coach or a player or just team personnel, like that became so important for me because of how frequently I was around those people and just understanding like, you know, the ways of communication and the times that the right times to communicate, the wrong times to communicate, the right things that you should be pushing for, right? Like there were just so many little things within that. I'll never forget, like, it was, I think, like it was the beginning of the regular season. So I'd probably been there for a little bit over a month. And road game in Colorado, the Wild were losing like 4-1 in the third period, the second period. And Devin Dubnyk makes some like crazy save. They come back, they win the game in regulation. I think Zach Parise had a hat trick. And after the game, we're like in a scrum, and I asked Mike Yo about the Dubnyk save, just, as like a turning point and like, hey, he wasn't playing super well, but like obviously if it's a 5-1 game, that changes things. It saves 4-1, they come back, they win the game. And like a few days later, someone taps you on the shoulder and they're like, hey, like Yosi wants to speak to you in his office. I'm like, okay. He comes in. It's like, listen, like you're working super hard. I can tell that you understand a lot about this and I appreciate all that. And he just said, I'm not going to come out and like pump my goalie's tires when he gave up 4 goals. Like, understand the question. And it was really just an interesting moment of being like, first of all, he did it in a super respectful way. Like, he didn't shoo me out. He just explained like his POV. And I'm a team employee, so it's different. Like, he wouldn't do that with Pete Writer, right? Like, he's not going to call Michael Russo into the office. But it was just, there was like a mutual respect there of him saying, like, hey, you come to everything. I appreciate the effort you're putting in. But in your role, like, here is just a reason why this is not maybe the best question to ask. And it kind of just reshaped how I thought about things. But in terms of the communication side of things, right? Like, you mentioned working for one team, and I talked about like you work in different roles and you're a partner, you work with an organization. It kind of just affects the way that you can cover things, the type of content you're going to produce. And that's fine, right? That's not a bad thing. That comes with its positives and negatives, but like it just really reshaped the way that I thought about like how I approached the things that I was going to write and the questions I would ask, and basically just like what my right swim lane was to do that job.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a super interesting story with Yo, and I think perfectly aligns to what you said before about so many things go on behind the scenes with social media or articles or otherwise that people don't understand why they're asked or why they're not asked in future situations. I know before that you had a similar role there, editorial intern with the Boston Bruins. Was that kind of the first foray into hockey for you there? And I mean, an original six team getting to write about them, Boston. That's got to be a pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that was crazy, man. I was a junior in college and got that internship. It was during the 2012-13 shortened lockout season.
Yeah, yeah.
So got an internship over the summer, was super stoked, was ready to like hit the ground running, and then it's like boom, lockout. So it's like, what is going on? So I spent the first half of the year driving from Boston to Providence a lot and doing stuff with the Providence Bruins because the AHL was not a lockout.
Good team though. Good team that year.
Providence Bruins?
Were they?
Yeah, I mean, well, they had some guys that would have been in the NHL. I think you could probably say that about a lot of AHL teams that year. But a lot of shuttling back and forth, and again, just like expectation of going in versus what ended up being was different. And then, of course, like the semester ended, the internship ended, and the lockout ended, and I was like, great. But that's a great organization as far as like bringing up um, interns and having folks stay on, and a lot of folks stay there for a really long time because of the culture there. Like in terms of team employees, I guess the same could be said about players too. But uh, had me come back as like a game night intern, and my job was to go into the visiting team locker room and write a story, basically like a Bruin story from the perspective of the visiting team in a sense. It's not the easiest thing to explain. It was kind of a creative challenge, like finding the right angle of like this player matched up against Patrice Bergeron tonight, so he had a bad night. Like, but it was cool, man. That was the year they lost the Hawks in the Cup final, and just a crazy experience as like a college student to go through all that. Um, was definitely my first like real legit hockey job. And then from there, like I don't think the goal was ever to be in hockey in perpetuity. Like I was just focused on being a sports journalist when I was in college, but you get one job and it kind of makes it easier to get the next job that's in that same, field because you have the relevant experience. So I mean, I grew up a huge hockey fan, so no complaints. Like I always loved the sport, but that was a great, really first step into things. And then from there, things kind of just, it's easier to find the next step because you have that experience. So
And you mentioned it there, like not really knowing for sure that hockey was exactly what you wanted to go into. Um, but was sports kind of always the lane you wanted to take specifically, or were your eyes opened by a role like this early on?
yeah, I was pretty set on sports, I would say. Like, I think when you're that young, there's definitely that uncertainty of like, will it happen? So I was definitely not like diametrically opposed to doing something else if that was like how I was going to start, or if it was going to help me make connections and get into the right organizations. But that was definitely the focus was on sports. Like grew up playing sports, was a huge fan. Knew that I was not going to be a professional athlete. That was never even like a debate. It was just like, hey, like how can I stay involved in this in a way that'll actually be reasonable? Um, so I definitely knew that was gonna like that was what I was trying to get into, and I was always super into writing. So majored in journalism, like I said, and I thought that was gonna be the end all be all, and then things changed. So, but
Yeah, they
happens.
worked out. They
Yeah,
worked out,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Everything worked out. No complaints.
Well, another thing you're doing today here, Evan, is running the brand Heart of Hockey. Tell us, kind of where that idea came from, kind of passion
Yeah.
project on the side. You get to test some different stuff out, or what's kind of the goal with that?
No goal, man. It's just for fun.
That's awesome.
Honestly, so when I was at DAZN, I worked with this guy, Fabian Gashi, and he still runs this account. It's called Timeless Sports. They have like
Oh, yeah,
600,000 on Instagram,
yeah,
and very similar type of account of like just throwback stuff. Probably more into like the culture surrounding sports too. That's NBA. It's funny. I just saw he posted last night that account's been live for like 10 years. Um, so for me, it was just like this is something that I've become more passionate about social media. And I just was like, this will be fun to do. Um, and it's done well. Like it's fun. It's definitely hard to keep up with as like obviously it's not my job. So I just, it's like a leisure thing. Um, but like I just have a hard drive with like all these old highlights on them and I'll just see what's relevant that I care about. But um, no, like it's strictly a leisure thing. I wouldn't even say that it's like a beta tester for open ice. It's more just like I do that when I want to. And it's been cool to see interactions. Like I've had players interact with it and I'm like, nice, man. Like appreciate it. But yeah, just like something I do for fun and not really paying any bills off that. So
yeah. No, that's it's still cool, man. I love all the nostalgia throwback stuff like that. So that's a page that I love consuming there for sure. Social media has obviously changed a ton, evolved a ton in the time since you first started working on it. There, rank these things for me in terms of how you view their importance, Evan. Speed of getting the highlighter news up, the quality of the edit and the post or the graphic, um, and three, incorporating or kind of having an opinion or a question to drive engagement there.
I mean, you pretty much just rank them in how you said them. I would say that speed and the packaging is kind of like 1A, 1B, right? Like I think ultimately, and some of that depends on the platform too, but like being first to market is super important in terms of driving engagement, right? Especially for us, we are an NHL rights holder. So a lot of the aggregators will get what they post from us. And there's really like 3 or 4 rights holders that can legally post highlights. So you're getting your aggregating videos from 3 or 4 sources. So speed is super important, but um, if you do take an extra, like if you're going to take an extra 3 minutes to make something meaningfully better, like do that. That is definitely going to cut through, especially if it's like not only you're making it of higher quality, but you're differentiating, like you have a different hook or angle that's going to really stand out and cut through. 100% for that. So I think it's kind of a 1A, 1B of like speed being 1A and then the packaging itself, the editor, whatever it is, 1B. Uh, the other one was like a question to drive engagement. Yeah,
Anything to engage.
I almost feel like not like unrelated, but um, nobody reads anymore, man. So it's just like if it's a highlight, they just want to see the cool highlight. Um, and then there's moments where like we'll hook things around a question, but I feel like that's less highlight based. That's more just like kind of diving specifically into that like question and response type of thing. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's super interesting to hear, and I think I agree with the order there. I probably subconsciously, wrote them in that order, but, I totally agree on the speed thing, and honestly, like, I've never really said this publicly probably, but, like, that's the main reason for me that I kinda faded away from Hockey Collective is, like, I couldn't keep up with that speed, man. Like you said, there's so many channels, pages, if McDavid's going to score a great goal, and I know you've got a full team working on it, Sportsnet's got a full team working on it, TSN's got a full team working on it. Like, what am I going to bring to the table that's a different angle or a different, am I have to beat you in terms of time to post it to get, the traction or engagement that you probably saw in years past?
yeah, it's insanely competitive one. Like it is a race. And that's why I said doing that job is so difficult, because there is that pressure in the moment of, oh shit, I need to do this really
Yeah.
fast, of high quality, all those things. I will say that we have noticed, and when I say we, this isn't just open ice. I think this is folks that I talk to. There is highlight fatigue on social media. Like, people are just not engaging with the standard highlight, or even just like the elevated highlight to the level they used to. And that is a big challenge right now, is how can we package things in a way that are taking it out of just the, like, here is the highlight, um, which is something we're going to experiment with a lot early this season. Like, we're coming in with new ideas of, like, here's how we can make highlights more exciting again. Um, but it's tricky because, like you said, you have a lot of brands posting basically the same thing at the same time. Speed is important, but I also think the differentiation point of, like, it's not just McDavid scored, but it's like, what's cool about it? And I don't even mean like, oh, I'm going to diagram, like draw him dancing someone, but how can we make that even more engaging than just saying like he scored a sick goal?
Yeah.
And I think that's why you guys do such a good job of having those different styles and incorporating different creators into your content. To kind of touch on the social media platform differences here, do you have a platform that maybe was harder to learn or you found more challenges with early on with BR Open Ice?
Um, I mean, TikTok is probably the best example, where like the first year we just didn't really prioritize TikTok much. And year two, I was like, we got to unload the clip on TikTok. It just, I felt like it had the most growth potential. And I felt like we were just leaving so much meat on the bone there. And like, if you look at the bigger brands, we don't do this, but like brands are posting 30 to 50 times a day on TikTok. And across the board, like TikTok for every one of our brands at Bleacher Report, highest viewed, highest engaged, fastest growing. And we're dedicating the requisite resources to that, right? Like Johnny's open skate interviews, that's a TikTok first play. The stuff we're doing with Mike and TBR Sports, like you mentioned, that's TikTok first. We're adding in more TikTok stuff this year. And that's all intentional, because that's where we feel like we have the most opportunity to grow. And we've seen that. I think the trickiest thing about that platform was just, it is so unique in terms of not only just like how you have to crop a video, but just in terms of like the types of videos that do well on TikTok. Like, standard highlights don't do really well on TikTok. It's just like, I posted this morning, like after the Rangers Devils preseason game last night, like Paul Cotter just like slides the puck through Jonathan Quick's legs as they're skating off the ice, and Quick cross checks him. And it's just like stupid, quirky, mildly funny. And that's the things people care about. It's like the moments inside of the moments that happen in like 3 to 5 seconds. So it is such a specific formula that if you don't follow, I mean, if you use the app, like think about it. If you don't give a shit about a video in 2 seconds on TikTok, and you're on to the next. So it's like the shortest attention span with the most specific content buckets in the weirdest dimensions. It's just like the most bizarre. Then there was like 3 months where we were like, ah, shit, it's going to get banned in the US. So like, what do we even do here? So it's just a weird one, man. But there's so much opportunity there. Not to mention, too, the audience demo. Like, if we can get that audience demo excited about hockey, then we actually might create new fans. Versus
Yeah.
like, and if everyone on Facebook, it's just like my uncle who knows what hockey is. So
Yeah.
like, we're good with them. But yeah, TikTok is a big one.
It's the wild, wild west, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Social media is all kind of about trends and patterns. What do you see moving forward here, Evan, as the way that sports are going to shape around social media, or the way that teams, brands like BR can lean more into digital content?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned the whole highlight thing, right? Like, I think that's one of our biggest priorities this year, is figuring out how to shape that code and crack that code again around highlights. I mean, in the overall sports conversation, like, live sports are still super important, right? People are going to consume live sports differently, right? Like, there's all these talk about ratings around things, and I get that, but like, if they're not getting it on television or streaming, whatever, they're getting it through social media. So there's still an appetite for that. So I think then it just becomes like, how can we iterate off of that, right? Whether that's how we package our highlights, whether that's something like an alt cast, which we've toyed with in the past of, hey, this is a second screen viewing experience, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's a first screen viewing experience. Like maybe there isn't someone who is going to sit down and watch a full game, but they might watch an alt cast. So I think it's just about finding the audience where they consume things and reaching them there and engaging them with it. And then obviously, like, there is a lot of potential to monetize that, right? Like, yes, like ad revenue through live television is still massive, but like you can make money off social media too. So that's a big part of it, is like, how can we create content that's repeatable, that's sellable? So yeah, it's different. It's constantly changing, but I think it's about trying to identify those trends as they're happening and getting in there really early, because if you don't, by the time you figure out what they are, it's already going to change.
I'm going to put you on the spot a little here. Do you have a favorite video or post that you've ever made on social media?
Yeah, I get asked this a lot, and which means like I should have a definitive answer. The one thing I always go back to is the Winter Classic we did in Boston a few years ago. This is like the peak, like you give the Gen Z kids the keys to the car and like watch the stupid shit they make. It's like, I grew up a huge Seinfeld fan, and we made David Pasternak a statue of himself out of pasta,
I
which
remember
was
that.
inspired by the Fusilli Jerry on Seinfeld. And to me, it was like the quintessential Bleacher Report of like, who in the fuck would think to make like a statue out of pasta? But we did it, and we presented it to him at Winter Classic. So the payoff was really just like, you got to see the statue, but also just like his reaction to that.
Yeah.
One of the things that happened as we were doing this, which was totally unplanned, was that was a team that I worked for years ago. And while we're in the middle of producing this project, really sad news story that the team chef had passed away. He was in his early 30s, and it was very unexpected. He left behind a wife and family. And this all happened as this project was being done. And I reached out to someone at the team and I said, hey, I would love if we could do something, like, can we auction off the statue after the fact and donate the proceeds to, like, the family had started a foundation for him. So we ended up doing that after the fact. What started out as a really fun, wacky project also had some cool meaning at the end. So that one stays with me probably for that reason. I think because of both just the content side of things and the impact. Like, there's a million dumb videos we've done over the years that are so fun. A lot of them, like, that come to mind more the athlete driven ones, like stuff we do at Player Media Tour with like getting guys to like do Vanderpump intros, that type of stuff. We have some cool stuff coming for start of season 2, which like I'm pretty pumped about. But yeah, like, I guess that one sticks out because it was just like I said, totally out there concept, was like really difficult to kind of pull off, like just to find when you could even make a statue out of pasta. But we did. And then it ended up, we got to do something kind of like community based too at the end. That was really cool. So
Super cool. One other thing that I'd relate kind of from my hockey collective days, Evan, is when it comes to metrics, we all spend a ton of time looking at them, thinking about them, looking at how a post performs. For me, I almost got numb to it, where like if a video isn't over 1 million views, I don't care about it. And that's
yeah,
a crazy perspective because, starting a new brand, like working in hockey, I'm like, oh my God, this got 5,000 views. Like, that's amazing. Is there a number or a point to you that gets you fired up still? Or is it, pure analytical when you're looking at these things now?
there is. I think it's attached to a few things. I think the first is like I could post, this is going to be a really bad example. I could post a photo of Jack Hughes' ass and that'll get like 3 million likes, right? But that's just because of the nature of what we're doing, right? Like, there's things you can do that are low hanging fruit that are going to do super well. Seeing a big number is always exciting, but I think also when you're doing something that's more original, like the pasta thing I just mentioned, that did super well, or just like those things that you kind of put more creative energy into, like seeing those do well is probably the most exciting. We have platform benchmarks of like, hey, we like to see posts, across, if it's on this platform, this is a number that we're going for, whether it's engagements, views, etc. To me, that's never the end all be all, right? Like, I think it's a good North Star, but to me, it's like, if a post doesn't do that number, one, it's not the end of the world, as long as two, we're able to unbiasedly assess, like, why is it that it didn't do well? Did it go up too slow? Was it how we packaged it? Is the content not something that resonates with our audience? So just learn from that, right? Like, we're all going to make mistakes, and that's not even a mistake. That's just like, hey, it didn't do as well as we hoped. That's not the end of the world, right? Like, to me, as long as we're intentional about why we do something right. Oh, you did it for this reason. Okay, I'm totally behind that. I support you. But maybe the logic there didn't end up playing out in terms of performance as we expected to. Again, totally fine, but like, let's just have that be a takeaway so that next time, if we're in the same situation, we're adjusting to try to tweak it so that something does better. That's tough, right? Like, it is such a public facing job where you do something and your grade is out there for everyone to see, not only in the engagements, but in the comments too. Like, that is shitty and that is really difficult. So I do think you have to be able to kind of remove yourself from that. Otherwise, you're going to go absolutely insane. But I think having that hopefully understanding of, like, at least as far as the way that I like to run things, is like, let's just be honest about things. And again, it's not a doomsday, it's just a normal conversation. Then I think you can have a pretty level head.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and like you said, the comment section can be confirmation bias and echo chamber of what people think or otherwise there. So it's important to take a step back always. But sticking on the metrics there, another silly ranking for you, Evan. Views, likes, comments, shares. What's your order of importance on those four?
I mean, a little bit of a cop out, but it does depend on the platform. Like, to me, I do think any form of engagement is a really good barometer of how impactful a post is, because like views, like, it could just be, hey, something kind of kicked in the algorithm and did super well. A lot of people saw it. It could show up on a For You page or something like that. If people are physically engaging with something, it means that it's stickier and it resonates with them, and they actually have an affinity for what you posted. So to me, engagement has always been king. And again, that could be a like, a comment, like whatever that is. I think views is probably right behind that, because again, like, people seeing what you're doing is super valuable. You're talking about like branded content. They want to see how many views it got. They want to see the reach of a post, right? They want to know how many people saw their brand. So also very important. But to me, engagement has always been king. I think that's the best barometer for, like, do people actually think what you did is good?
Yeah, no,
And
it's
I think about that too, of like, I'm way more likely to just, if I'm scrolling something, I'm going to double tap way before I like comment or anything like that. So
Yep. Yep.
or even share, right? Like getting that
yeah,
share just shows people like wanting to share it with other people because of how good it is or how
yeah,
funny it is or for whatever reason it is. You've obviously held some super cool roles within hockey that we've mentioned so far, which leads me to believe you've attended a bunch of cool events. What are maybe the coolest game or event that you've been able to attend in your career?
there's a lot, man. Like, a lot that just come to mind. Four Nations was insane last year. The Four Nations
Yeah.
final, like, that's one that'll stay with me for a long time. Um, this is like super off the board. Like, you would not expect this one, but when I was at DAZN, Um, there's a fight at MSG. I'm not going to know the year off the top of my head, but it was Anthony Joshua against Andy Ruiz, and it was one of the biggest boxing upsets ever. It was such a big upset that we didn't have a winner graphic prepared for Andy Ruiz, who won the fight. That was the last time we ever did that, but like, that was insane. I felt MSG like shake that night. That one's right up there for me. I mean, like, different Stanley Cup final games come to mind, but like, not above Four Nations. Like, that was different.
Yeah.
That, because I mean, especially just not having best on best hockey for so long, just the importance of that. Like, you feeling like it was important going in, and the crowd matching that was insane. A
Did you
game was
attend
crazy
did you attend
was
the whole tournament as well, or were you at the final?
no, I did. I did all the Boston games, so I
Okay.
didn't do Montreal. So I missed the triple fight, which is very sad. Um, but all the Boston games and the final and all that, like, the final was spectacular. Like, the
Yeah.
level of hockey is just, I think from like an atmosphere and a level of hockey perspective, that was insane. The game in Boston after the Boston Marathon bombing, it was Bruins Sabres. That one will also always hold a special place for me. And again, just the backstory, the atmosphere, like what it meant for the city. That one was pretty insane. So those come to mind. I'm sure as soon as I get off, I'm going to text you. I
Yeah.
can shit, I forgot this one, and I'm really sorry to all the players who played in it. Oh,
There
Frozen
we go.
4, Frozen 4 2014, Union won. They beat Boston College in the final.
Mm,
Jane Goss's Bear, that's the
yep,
best game of hockey I've ever seen a human being play at any level. Like he just took over. It was insane. And that
dominant.
game's nuts. I think it was like an 8-5 game or
Yeah,
something. That game sticks
right.
out too.
He was dominant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is cool to see, like, working in sports gets you so many different opportunities to attend these amazing events, and I think that's a reason why so many people want to work in sports, right? Is getting these, cool experiences on the side. So, to wrap things up, Evan, what is the best career advice you could pass along to our viewers?
I knew I was going to get asked this too, and I was thinking about it a lot. I think like opening yourself up and being amenable to trying different things and gaining different skills. Like I'm not saying do anything, but I think doing different types of jobs and holding different types of responsibilities that are related to the field that you want to work in makes you so much of a more well-rounded and better candidate to do a job. Like when there's that section in your resume that says relevant skills, if you can just jack that thing up with like everything that like I know how to do, Photoshop, Premiere, like all of those things. And that's something that I was so diametrically opposed to when I was younger. I was like, I'm just going to write words and I'm going to do whatever I want. And that was a bad mindset. Um, so I'm not saying like take any job and work for free. Like that's definitely an opinion. But to me, it's like being open to trying different things. And the other thing too, it's like, you're not going to really know if you like something until you try it, right? Like for years, like I said, didn't want to do any of that stuff. Then I slowly started to learn how to use Adobe Premiere, and now I love video editing. And that's not something I would have known 10 years ago because I was stubborn. But I actually like it. So it's something that I do a lot. But then also in terms of having conversations about different roles and things, like then you have the skill to do that. It might not even be like what your main responsibility is, but it might just be like, oh, wow, that's good that that person can do that because there might be a little bit of that, or they might be really close with another candidate for that job. And then it's like, oh, this guy knows how to edit, this one doesn't. There's your trump card. So I think just being open to different types of experiences and learning how to do different things is super, super important. And then maybe like 1B is just like think about the role that you want, not next, but 2 roles from now, and put yourself on that track of like, if I'm doing something right now, here's how it's helping me 2 years from now because I'm doing this and I can see this progression. Um, not really deviating too much from that because I think that's when things can get kind of messy and convoluted. But like having a long term of like, maybe there's someone at your company and you're like, wow, that person, I love what they're doing. I want to do that role. Like how are you getting there? Like figure out what you're doing right now, how that is setting you up on the path to get to where you want to be eventually.
I think those are both great pieces of advice, and really can't thank you enough for taking the time here, Evan. I think everybody again follows Bleacher Report Open Ice already. This has been awesome, man. It's great to hear kind of your journey, great advice, and kind of insight throughout. And as fans of the game, Lucas and I look forward to more pasta with pasta statues and whatever else you guys got up your sleeves. All right.
Yeah, we got Winter Classic in Miami this year. We got to do something weird.
Yeah.
I don't know what. I'm thinking GTA vibes, but we haven't honed in on something yet. So
We're excited to see where it lands, man. Thanks again for the
Yeah,
time.
thank
And
you.
guys, we'll see you next week here for another episode of the Working in Hockey podcast.